Thanks, everyone. I'm Mason Granger, the CEO of Oregen Energy Corp, and I'm happy to be joined by Stuart Munro, our Vice President of Exploration. I guess one of the key questions from potential investors is, why is the Orange Basin in Namibia exciting as the world's hottest exploration frontier, and what similarities to other successful basins give us confidence that Namibia is in the early innings of something huge? So, as a company, Origin Energy is focused on the Orange Basin in offshore Namibia. Most people wouldn't have heard of the Orange Basin. For non-technical people, I guess the question is, what's the geological story behind this emerging basin that's given rise to such an exciting exploration frontier for oil, starting with the Orange River millions of years ago?
Let me just say that this diagram shows the catchment area of the Orange River. It's actually the fourth largest river in Africa after the Niger. It has a huge basin. Capture area goes all the way almost to the Indian Ocean, in fact. And then it runs through Lesotho from the Drakensberg and down right across into the Atlantic. When the Atlantic opened up at the end of the Barremian Age, in the Cretaceous, that was opened up by oceanic spreading. So the basement there is basically oceanic crust. And then some Barremian carbonates. And then after that, the Orange River really starts to flow in, and it flows in vast quantities of sands, which become reservoir sands. We can see that on the next couple of slides. The next one will show that's just the mouth of the Orange River on a nice calm day. But the next one shows what it's like when it's flooding. And there you can see very huge amounts of sediments pouring into the Atlantic from the Orange Basin. And when these floods happen, these sediments are carried out by basically by gravity, but they will extend for hundreds of kilometers off the shore into the deeper water. And the basin itself has formed a huge delta, which you don't actually see. It's a submarine delta. And this is the form of it here. And that is the same size, almost identical to the Niger Delta. And we all know that the Niger Delta has been producing hydrocarbons for 50 years. And even the last 30 years, deep water has been developed, and now deep water in oil fields in the Niger Basin extend right down to 2,000, 3,000 meters depth of water depth. And this is what we're seeing in the Orange Basin. So lots of sands being thrown in to produce reservoirs, and the most important part is that below these sands, in the early Aptian, there was a major event in the South Atlantic, in fact, throughout the West Atlantic, where source rocks were deposited. And those source rocks of Aptian age stretch all the way from the southern tip of South Africa, all the way around South Africa, in fact, and then all the way up through to Morocco. So these are the source rocks, which are the source basically for most of the oil fields of Angola, for all the oil fields of Ghana, for example, for the oil fields of the deep water oil fields of Nigeria also. So we have here the two main ingredients for major oil accumulations, which the two major are, of course, source and reservoir. Okay?
Stuart, what are the specific attributes of the Orange River mouth and its delta that make this such a prospective and fertile hunting ground for oil exploration in the present day? Can we draw similarities to other prolific oil-producing river deltas elsewhere in the world?
Yes, absolutely. As I mentioned before, the not only the size, but the sediment input is almost identical to the Niger Delta. There are other deltas in the world where these very, very similar occurrences. And I think Guyana, for example, is another example where the Amazon basically has brought hundreds of square miles of reservoirs into that area. And of course, it's the same source rock as the Aptian source rock, but it is accompanied by the Cenomanian Turonian source rock in Ghana. And that source rock also exists in Namibia and is mature for producing hydrocarbons in the shallower part of the basin, but unfortunately not in the deeper part. So we have to rely on the Aptian. But it's very similar to major producing areas throughout the world.